Okay, we are here at PAX East 2011, standing here with James Ohlen from BioWare. And James, would you mind just, for the folks who may not know, telling us what your role is on the Old Republic development team?
I'm the game director on Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Okay, so you're the boss in a lot of ways, right? Okay,
Well,
great.
actually, Rich Vogel's the
Of
executive
course,
producer.
sure.
So he can tell me if I'm spending too much money or.
That's right. Right, thumbs up, thumbs down, right. Okay, could you tell us a little bit about just some of the new things that we're seeing here at PAX East for the first time?
We're showing off Terrell 5, which is one of our flashpoints. Flashpoints are one of the most important elements of the game for encouraging grouping. They can only be finished if you're essentially in a group of 4, and they're analogous to the dungeons you see in World of Warcraft and other fantasy-based MMOs. We call them flashpoints, give them a different name. They're also, because we have story elements, they play quite a bit differently. And we feel that the story aspect of them makes them a lot different from what players are used to when they go in a dungeon. They get to, and we've had a lot of good reaction to it, and people have a lot of fun doing the multiplayer dialogue together. And you get to be the snarky smuggler and make fun of our Master Oteg, who's part of the Yoda race, and that's always, lots of people have wanted to make fun of.
The smuggler in the group that we were in called called him out as a backseat driver, so that was great. That was a great line. Yeah, very exciting. So, okay, well, thanks. Got a few questions about the recently revealed guild system, if that's okay. On the site and everything. I think for everybody was surprised to see that, and I think that made the game all of a sudden a lot more real. Wow, yeah. We can create a guild now that's going to be in the game, and all that kind of thing. So, is there anything else you can say about, first of all, is that going to be the way that, is that going to be the interface for guilds going forward once the game launches? Will it be able to also create guilds in the game, or is that how it's going to be handled through the web?
No, it's you'll be creating a guild in the game using the in-game interface, which is actually in the game right now. So you can create guilds. That was actually something that just came in with our latest build, and it's been interesting to see players starting to form up guilds in the game. It's really making it a lot more social.
Oh, cool. Okay. So will this also continue on the current web tool? Will it continue on after launch, so you can do it either way, or?
No, I'm pretty sure this is just to get an early entry. Once the game launches, it'll just be in-game.
Gotcha, in-game type thing.
No, the thing is, we're always looking at. We have lots of different features that we want to put into the game. Some will be put in the game for launch. Some will work on after launch to make social aspects of the game easier to use. So we do want eventually to have ways to access the game outside, from online or from your iPhone or things like that.
Yeah.
Now, I can't describe what those are going to be and when they're going to come in, but we definitely do have a lot of ideas there.
Oh, great! Yeah, that was some of the next questions were like that. In terms of other I guess web-facing or connected tools, whether it's mobile or web-based. Will we see more advanced guild management tools, whether it's a calendar or that kind of stuff? But you may not really talk about that. I was just going to cover that. And mobile is great. I think a lot of players are looking for some connected access to the game, if not playing the game, some way to be part of it away from the game.
Oh, it's definitely something we're very interested in. It's just there's a million features we want to put in the game, and so just a matter of time and priority. And the great thing about a massive multiplayer game is it continues to grow after you launch. So we do know that if you want to be successful, you have to have a game that has that social glue that keeps people wanting to come back month after month. We're very interested in making sure that we continue to innovate in the social space and give players what they want.
Great. That's great news. Okay, what about, will there be any kind of guild mechanics beyond organization management? Will there be any kind of guild progression system possibly, or guild achievements or anything that you can do as a group that way?
That's something that we're very interested in. Guild progression is something that might make it in, it might not. It's on our, we have a backlog of features that we want to put into the game, and it's on there, and it's a pretty high in priority, so it's something that we might get in.
Yeah.
But we do have to launch the game at some point.
You're right.
We're really waiting for it, so I'm sure that you guys would prefer for us to launch the game once it's ready, rather than wait for every single social feature. So it might come in for launch, it might not, but I can tell you that it is on the list of things we want to do.
Yeah.
As is achievements. We like achievements are a big part of MMOs.
Yeah, sure.
That's the types of achievements. We are going to have achievements in the game.
Yeah.
But the types of achievements we're going to have are going to depend upon how many we can get in for launch.
For launch, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Some questions that I've seen on the forums and some of our readers have brought up. The pre-order of how to form a guild and get it. You have to have 4, I think, pre-orders, guild members to transfer to the game. Is that how does that work exactly? Is that you have to order from a certain source, or are you just given a code that you'll enter? That came up as a point of confusion. I just thought I'd see if there's a way to clarify that.
I think that would be a better question for probably not me.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
that's fine. What about this? When the gilded up characters finally move, they transfer into the game. Do they transfer as a character? Because right now we don't have characters; they're just accounts on the form. So once we log into the first time, is it our name in class that's sort of predefined, or nothing really? You're just kind of brought over as a guild, and you're prompted in some way to create a character at that point.
I think it's going to be your first created character, but don't quote me on that one right now.
That's, okay. Okay. Cool. Let's see here. We had folks ask, will there be more than 3 in-game guild ranks? I think the guild page right now just shows, officer and guild leader and member. Will there be, ways to expand that or customize that you know of?
Yeah, so that's, right now we have the, again, it comes down to our feature list. We have the basic guild functionality in there, but the number of ranks is something that we can definitely change for ship. So it's going to be, it really will depend upon, one of our philosophies right now is we're getting a lot of players into the game, and they're testing the game and play testing the game, and they're giving us feedback of what features they want. So that helps us prioritize things. Instead of, this is one of the messages I've given my design group, is we have to put aside our egos now. I know we think that this is the most important thing to the game, but what we really have to do is we get this testing feedback, and they say, this is what's most important to us, and then we prioritize that over other stuff. So that's, I have to stop myself from, using my power to. Because there's things that I want, but at the same time, we need to serve the fan base, and so that's
that came through. I talked to Hall and Daniel, and they both said the same thing. So at some point you got to step back and see what's fun, what's working, what the technology can do, and all that. So it was pretty interesting. Okay, well here's sort of a current one. You probably get this a lot. It's sort of a current hot topic. What's the current stance on being able to switch your advanced class, once you've chosen it? I think we've heard it both ways in the past, but...
Well, it's interesting. I know there's lots of debates on the boards about it. There's also lots of debates...
I've heard everything.
There's lots of debates within the design group, Star Wars: The Old Republic on it. So it's I have my own personal view on it, and my personal view is different from some of the other senior designers. Sure. But it's I think that one will be decided by what... once we get... we could start off with... for example, we could start it off so that you couldn't change your advanced class at all during the game. Or we could have it be enormously expensive so that you have to get to the end level and then grind a lot to get enough credits to eventually afford to essentially purchase the changeover. Or we could make it cheaper and make it something that's really kind of something you can do multiple times during it. Those are the different options we have.
Yeah, sure.
I know where I'm not going to reveal where I stand on that, but it's going to be something that I think shouldn't be just determined by my gut or the feelings of the guys, but should be determined by the players. And I think it's going to be something that will definitely change as the game ages. Yeah. As in, I'm pretty sure that at some point we will be allowing players to change from advanced classes, like a switch between advanced classes. Yeah. Because it's technically it's not hard. It's not a
It's something that's achievable with
So it's literally like a switch. We just have to So it's not. I'm pretty sure players are going to demand it at some point in the future. Yeah. And I know there's the argument that it's a real choice and you shouldn't be able to switch between it, but so is World of Warcraft eventually allowed you to change your race,
gender, everything.
So it's and again, it's not something. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to do at launch. I just think that it will be something that eventually happens.
Yeah, sure. Well, it goes back to what you just said. Sort of let the players and the fun decide it first. What's the demand, and then kind of go from there. My personal vote would be to keep it. Make it a solid choice and go forward. Because it seems like since I think I talked mostly to Blaine about this at the last PAX, and the idea that there's going to be multiple combat roles available within each advanced class anyway, which seems to give more flexibility that some players are concerned about. But it's just interesting because it's such a different, since it starts as the same class, people kind of expect it, well, it just is a branch of that class. And I try to discuss it. Well, think of those as archetypes. It's a story archetype maybe, and then the combat class would be the advanced class. But obviously, like you said, if you can achieve it, technically, then it's probably some players would like to do.
Yeah, because the thing is, the story, it doesn't affect the story at all, so it is something that we could do quite... The argument for it is that it allows players to if they're getting tired of their current combat rotations or how the character plays, it allows them to try something out new for relatively cheap.
Yeah.
That's one argument for it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's definitely something that has caused lots of debate.
Yeah.
Both on the boards and in the building.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those topics. There's a lot of discussions, probably not just like the forums, but they happen within the halls of the team.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. Thanks for that. Okay, just changing directions a little bit here. Are there? I know there, after playing the Trooper this morning, I know there's definitely weapon range calculations, stuff like that. But playing the Trooper, I noticed, and I was never really a tank, but when I mess around, I've never certainly been a range tank. Yeah. So I found myself, and sometimes I found the mobs coming at me. Is there going to be any sort of, even for the range classes, movement, melee abilities, that would be more conducive to being in range and a little more realistic than, pumping them full of blaster bolts?
The Trooper has a. Did you ever use his stock strike?
Stock strike, yeah.
He has. It depends. Some of the paths have more melee abilities than others. Like the Smuggler, for example, he can kick you in the nuts.
Oh, yeah.
He can pistol whip you, and he has an uppercut. Actually, it's almost if you pick a certain path with I kind of call it the Indiana Jones path. You essentially get to kind of brawl it up with so you can be sitting there, sitting behind cover, blasting at somebody, and then they get up to you, and then you just get up there and you're like
trying to get at them. Oh, cool.
And you
that's great.
Get into a little fist fight.
Yeah.
Finish them off. So it feels a lot different. So yeah, that's definitely something. It's actually one of the from the very beginning of the project. Because it was a challenge that we had to address, the whole melee versus blaster. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of. I had the experience from Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic where we also had that problem.
Yeah.
That's why actually the whole development. Here's a little tidbit of knowledge. The whole development of cortosis, the lightsaber, resistant vibroblades that everyone uses. That's entirely because we wanted to make melee combat not look stupid.
Right.
So the fiction behind the fact that there's more vibroblades in which actually fit with the ancient times as well,
mm-hmm.
was mainly to address the fact that
you wanted to melee combat.
It made the game look a lot better than you running up to a guy with a blaster and just hacking with your lightsaber and him shooting at you point blank. It would just look dumb.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you think about it, a fight like that would end immediately. Either the guy with the gun would shoot you in the head,
right.
or you would. Well, actually, most likely you just got shot in the head. But since you're a Jedi,
that's right.
You're able to deflect them. You should just if you look at the battles in Attack of the Clones, when not my favorite, but Attack of the Clones. I shouldn't say that. But Qui-Gon Jinn is running at Jango Fett, mm-hmm. and the battle's over. As soon as he deflects the blaster bolts, gets up to him, slices his head off, battle's over. Which is what would happen.
Right.
You don't really have a. It wouldn't.
Right.
It would look silly if Jango Fett was dodging and shooting. And,
close one. Yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense. So actually, following up to that, because one of the most interesting mechanics I thought, because Smuggler I think is my, although I played the Trooper and I'm leaning that way, but the Smuggler was my first choice for a class, and I love the idea of the cover system. Was there ever a discussion about, making cover something for all classes in some way? And from that I mean, instead not just the portable cover, but a lot of the artificial intelligence seems to be when you're in a group, the group will take off and hide. It's different than in a pack of mobs doesn't just always charge you like it does in typical games. So giving a bonus to back to the point of standing in the middle of gunfire, you're not going to do that. You're going to take cover no matter who you are. Probably was ever a thought to give a cover type bonus or option to all classes?
Oh yeah, that was that was a hotly debated topic as well.
Yeah.
Actually, it still gets hotly debated now, though we're kind of at the point of no return.
Yeah.
It's the reason. One of the reasons we decided to give some classes cover and the other classes not cover. One is differentiation. We wanted some classes we wanted the Smuggler and the Imperial Agent to have their own thing, their own stick, and cover was one way to do it as well. And kind of fictionally, if you look at the Stormtroopers, they never take cover. They just stand there, and their armor is supposed to deflect the blaster bolts, but
catch on fire, whichever.
But in fact, you can shoot a little arrow with a stone arrowhead on it, and it will penetrate the armor and kill you. Actually, you can use a slingshot and kill the Stormtrooper. Absolutely, I'm making fun of the Ewoks now. But,
well, they were clones for a while.
If you look at the Stormtroopers and their fighting style, they really stand out in the open, and they don't use cover because they have their armor to protect them. So that was another reason. To go that direction. What's third? Differentiation. The fact that a lot of it also is we wanted to give them more mobility, like the Trooper and the because once you start taking cover, you you don't have as much mobility in taking cover.
Yep.
The bounty hunter has his rocket pack, and we wanted to make use of that.
Yeah.
And the trooper also, one of the specs of the trooper has the giant gun.
Yep.
I like to call it the aliens gun from Cameron's Alien, because that's the first time you saw a gun like that.
Right.
And that wasn't really conducive to cover as well.
Very true.
Well, it could be. But and then the last part, cover works differently in an MMO than it does in a first-person shooter. It's actually one of the big challenges we had to overcome. In a first-person shooter, cover is all about making sure you survive. If you don't take cover in Gears of War, you die.
Right.
But an MMO is not a game that kills you as often as you die in console games. Like if
it's not black and white.
Yeah. Well, it's just a different. Like MMO players don't want to be being killed and reloading nearly as much, right? So if you made it so that the gameplay mechanic was you had to stay in cover, then whenever there wasn't cover or anything else, you're gonna get killed.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to get that across in an MMO when you have all these other classes that aren't, like, it would be weird. You'd have these two classes that were glass cannons, more so than even wizards in like World of Warcraft.
Right.
So we've really made cover does give you a defensive bonus, but it also gives you an offensive bonus. Like you get abilities that you don't get outside of cover.
Right.
You get in cover. It's almost like, I like to describe it as the like the druid in World of Warcraft, you have the two different forms.
Sure.
So, the smuggler has his two different forms of combat. He has his out of cover combat.
Yeah.
If you're on one spec, his out of cover combat, he gets to use certain abilities. He gets the Indiana Jones beat 'em up abilities, and then inside of cover, he gets more
weaponry. Yeah, that's neat. That sounds like a really good way to put it together. Like you said, MMOs play differently than first-person shooters, and but strategically, I think it's going to present, especially with portable cover and that kind of thing. It's going to be neat in the gameplay.
Yeah, Cover's been one of those not easy to add to an MMO features. It's
looking back, we might.
Well, no, we knew it was going to be tough from the very beginning, but not as tough as it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But it is hard because MMOs and a rules-based combat is quite a bit different from, like, you can't, almost every game that adds cover at this point, takes from games that have done cover before, and we couldn't do that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see how beyond the Origin world that I played. I didn't play that, but I'm just like I said, Smugglers probably are going to go first, so I'm anxious to try all that out. Okay, let's see here. Here's a couple of general questions. I think sometime I think at Gamescom last year, you mentioned the possibility. It's probably one of those things on the list. You dropped a little bit of a hint about possibly guild capital ships or anything. Is there any update on that? Is that still something on the wish list, or is that looking better? Or
yeah, the guild capital ship. That's on the wish list. It's actually funny. That's I like to use that as the example of because that's actually every single one of my senior designers loves that idea, and it was actually brought back all the way back in 2006. That was brought up in design, and I was the mean design manager who was like, we had to finish a game here, and we can't have ridiculous features like a guild capital ship for launch. And they're like, we could get it in. So it's actually been on the list of features since 2006. It's just always been down at the once we get guilds in, and once we have all the core features, and once we have everything else down, that's definitely. The community can know that almost every one of my senior designers is on the side of we need to have guild capital ships in the game. So it's very much. It will. I'm pretty sure it's eventually going to get into the game because they'll beat me up until I eventually promote it to the next feature. So if it's not in for ship, it'll definitely be in a patch, or it'll be in an expansion.
Show up in the bug list. No capital ships. It's not a bug. That's funny. Okay, in terms of the UI that we're seeing playing the game, is that considered final in terms of the not just the design and look of it, but the layout and everything like that? Is the UI still under iteration, I guess?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. So you're going to see some big changes coming in the future.
Oh, okay, great. Speaking of the UI, will there be player customization features, whether that's just moving the UI around or scripting possibilities, or even macros, that kind of thing?
That's something that's pretty important for MMO. So it's something that we've really been. It's another feature that we want to get in for ship, but it is a lot. It is definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to figure out how we can get it in for ship. We might have a limited version of it, and then, but it's something that it's a competitive feature. Like if we want to be competitive against a lot of the other MMOs, it's something we eventually definitely have to have. So I'll just say it's on our
Right.
it's on our list. It's very high up on the it's something that a lot of people want to see in our game, not just fans, but even like high up EA execs are like
Right.
mention that that's important. So it's definitely something that
I think that's what most fans just want to hear, that it's on, because a lot of times I think the forums and those places, they get lost in the fact that there's already a bunch of really smart people that are making the game and they know about all these things too. So no need to light it on fire until you hear more.
Yeah, that's the thing is there's like almost every feature you could I not even say almost, I'd say every feature that someone brings up that they want in the game is in our list somewhere, and for the most part we've got almost all of them. But there's the more the
systemic
more,
things, right? The bigger,
the more of outliers they become. They might be like later on in the schedule because they're not core. They might be something that we plan to do later on. It's just about every project, even an expensive project like ours, has a limited budget, a limited amount of time. We have to make decisions. What are people really going to need to enjoy the game? We want to make, and plus, you have to avoid what a lot of games have done, which is you put in a bunch of features and you don't polish them, and then you have an unpolished, unfun game. So we have to make sure that when we're putting in features that we have the time to polish them,
finish
put
it
them
the right way.
Yeah, make sure that the feature is actually a good feature.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to just throw in everything in the kitchen sink and then have it all fall apart.
Yeah,
So
I think we've seen that enough.
Yes, exactly. The thing is, fans don't want fans don't want that.
Yeah.
It's not something they complain about because it's just an expectation. They just expect the game to work and be good. But it's kind of our job to try to figure out what and we listen to the fans. We find out what do you really want, and that helps us inform decisions on how we're gonna prioritize the final year of the game development.
Great. Okay. Just a couple more. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there anything you'd say? I'm one of the people that probably pop up on the forums now and then and talk about the Mac. Is there anything you'd say about supporting the Mac one way or the other than through Boot Camp or Windows? Is there anything on the radar that Mac players might have to look forward to in the future with the Old Republic?
I can't comment on that right now.
Okay, fair enough.
I do like Macs too. I have a Mac.
All right. Okay, so what's one thing maybe you'd like to talk about that no one ever asks you? Is there anything like that doesn't come up but you could talk about?
One thing that I don't get asked about.
That's just interesting. Like, why doesn't everybody talk to me about this? I think we worked hard on this or something.
I think it's really got.
Probably
I think people are maybe. One of the things that I think some people we've always been kind of dogged with it because we started our kind of promoting the game with the fact that we're going to be story based and story heavy. And there's been a lot of fear in the community about, that must mean that they're not going to create a real MMO, which has never been the case. Our design vision has always been massively multiplayer game with Bioware type storytelling on top of it, but we're never going to sacrifice the basics of an MMO. So if I could talk about anything, it's that. And I tell this message over and over again, but it just seems like I need to get it out more. We're building an MMO. It feels more like a big wide open MMO than a lot of the MMOs that have been released, that people weren't worried about. It blows my mind. I get so annoyed when I see this. I'm like, if you played our game, you'd know that we have wide open spaces. We have we spend a lot of effort on the social systems in the game. We have everything that we have crafting, we have guilds, and we have all the social systems like friends lists and new lists, and we have battlegrounds and war zones, and we have raids, and we have our equivalent dungeons, flashpoints. We have so much. We have and we've innovated in some of them. Some of them are a little bit more standard, but we've tried to innovate wherever we can to make them, especially when we want to make them fit with the fiction, the Star Wars fiction. Yeah. In some ways, they're going to be for example, crafting is going to really impress people because it's a different system that uses your companion characters and allows you to actually send them on missions and actually craft your items for you. You can have multiple companions crafting various items, and plus the fact that you can actually do critical hits on, you can do crits on crafting items, so you can actually craft an item that's as good as what you would get in a raid, which will actually make crafters happy that they can actually add to the economy, craft an item that's actually desirable.
Right.
So we're doing all that. It's also all of the people in the building are MMO fans, and they play it all the time. So it's not like they're going to let the game if there's problems with the social aspects or the MMO-ness of the game, I hear about it all the time from my own guys. They're all MMO players, and it's actually been the entire last year of the project. We've been really focused on on making sure that the social aspects are there. We actually test it. What we do is we have a telemetry where we have this mad genius guy named Georg, who's one of the designers who he has him and a programmer from Edmonton created something called Skynet. I know it's called Skynet after the, which basically like can view all the actions that a player's taking within the game.
Wow.
And so we're able to track when players are grouping up, when they're chatting, when they're dying, when they're inviting someone to their friends list, and we can track all that stuff. And that allows us to see how grouping is going and how socialization is going. And we've used it to measure our progress, and it's been a steady road up. Like the percentage of people who've been playing in groups has been going up as we've added new systems. Wow. It's just a matter of time. The first cohort we didn't have guilds, and we didn't have auction houses, and we didn't have and our who list wasn't that great.
Yeah.
And we only had 200 people in it, and everyone's like, "Oh, the game isn't social." Maybe it could be the fact that we only have 200 people, and that we don't have some core social systems might be the problem.
Right.
So one of my jobs is just making sure people don't all go berserk with fear that we're not going to make. That we're not making. It's just it's a time. It takes time, right? You have to. All the pieces have to be in place, and then you have to polish it all up and make a good experience. But from the very start, it's been a core of the vision.
Yeah.
It's and trust me, EA is not going to give us tons of money to make a non-MMO game, because you need those social systems to make it sticky.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Players are gonna, fans are gonna love to hear about all that, because it comes up again and again. But until people, the guild thing that was released this week, it made it real for a lot more people. Like that, this is something now we can touch. This is something that will go into the game. So I think that's people start to see that, and it's just their faith is right there. I think it's I think it's just my personal opinion. Obviously, it's the opening of the floodgates. I think soon, things like that, that happen closer to the launch of the game, everybody's gonna feel a lot better about things they might have questions about it.
Yeah.
So, well, great. That's kind of about it. Just got to ask, of course. So the game's still on track for release this year, sometime, right? 2011.
I can't comment at all on but it's we are aiming 2011. Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, James, thanks a lot for taking some time with us today, and good luck with the rest of the show, and good luck with the home stretch to launch.